Good day everyone! We are the Group 6 and we are assigned to tackle Module 3 Lesson 2 of this subject with the topic Island and Lumad Groups. This lesson heightens your awareness of the IPs in the Island and Lumad Groups. It would also be helpful for you to broaden your knowledge in distinguishing IPs in the different areas of the country. I am Jumpy Mariswan and I am the activity facilitator. But before we start with our activities, let me first present to you the objectives of the lesson for you to have an idea of what are the expected outcomes at the completion of this topic. So, the objectives are, at the end of the session, the students should be able to first define the IPs from Island and Lumad groups. Second, identify Lumad and IPs in the community. And third, create a poem showcasing appreciation to Island and Lumad groups. Now let us proceed with our activity entitled Scrambled Words. So, I know that all of you are familiar with this one. All you have to do is to form a word out of the scrambled words given. Then drop your answers in the comment section. So let us begin with number 1. So what do you think is the answer for the number 1? Yes, very good. All of your answers are correct. It is Iraya. How about the number 2? Wow, all of you are fantastic. The answer is Buhid. Now let us proceed with number 3. What do you think is the answer? That's right. The answer is Manobo. How about the 4th scrambled letter? Yes, it is Monday. And the last one? Very good. The answer is Tibuli. Wow, that's great guessing, everyone. And now, since we are done with our activity, let us continue with our analysis to test your knowledge about the topic we will be discussing today. So, this is based on the activity that we have just done. So, I prepared here with me only one question for you to answer. Just drop your answers in the comment box and I will be the one to read it. So, the question is, out of the words you have just made in the activity, what's the first word you can think of? Thank you for your participation, everyone. All of your answers are right. It is the different groups of IPs in the Philippines. That's all for our analysis. The instruction will be discussed by the next reporter.
The Hanunuo has one of the most critical category in differentiating the Mangyan from the non-Mangyan, which is also called the Muong. Hanunuo Mangyan's male wears a loincloth, baag, and a shirt, balukas. A female wears an indigo-dyed short skirt called ramit and a blouse, lambung. Many traditional shirts and blouses are embroidered on the back with kudos based on the cross shape. Their bags are made of buri, or commonly known as palm leaf, and nito, which is a black fern called bayong. Both male and female genders wear a 12-rattan belt with a pocket at their waist. In terms for hair, the traditional style for a man is to have a long hair that tied in one spot at the back of the head with a paño, while women also have long hair, some dressed with a hair dress or headband of beads. According to Miyamoto, the Mangyans are fond of wearing necklaces and bracelets made of beads. Aside from creating accessories and clothing, they believe to cultivate cotton trees, which they used it as raw materials to weave in a crude hand loom called harablon. Their weaving process was called habilan, which starts with gathering cotton balls and piling them to dry in a flat basket called bilao. After the seeds are removed, cotton is placed on a mat and beaten by 2 flat sticks to make it okay. Next, it is placed inside a container made out of banana stalks or binuyo and woven. One anthropologist named Harold Conklin made an extensive study about the Hanunuo Mangyan agricultural system way back in 1953. These people learned Sweden farming, which is the kaingin system. According to Conklin, the Mangyans managed their Sweden farms skillfully. In 1995, Hayama Atsuko conducted a study on the Hanunuo Mangyans. She concluded that the Hanunuo Mangyans farming practices had prevented land deterioration, even though forest land degradation is now evident in their territory due to some of the various factors. The Hanunuo Mangyan speak a pre-Spanish language with characters expressing the open syllables of the language. The writing system is being taught in schools in Mansalay and Bulalakaw. Next is the Buhid. The word Buhid means mountain dwellers. The Buhids have historically lived in southern Mindoro's highlands and hilly areas. The indigenous people chose the term Buhid because it accurately depicts them as hill or upland dwellers in their own tongue. Buhids or Buds, in short, are popular in making pot. Their customers are the other Mangyan tribes such as the Alangan and Hanunoo that they used it in cooking. Similar to Hanunoo, the Buhid also has their way of clothing. Buhid women wear woven black and white brasiers which they called inagbun and coordinated with a black and white skirt called abul. In order to identify the married from the unmarried woman, the unmarried one wears some body ornaments such as braided nito belt or lufas, blue thread earrings, and beaded long necklace called siwayang or ugot. While the men wear G-strings and also wear ornaments like a long beaded necklace, tight choker or ugot, and beaded bracelet using to enhance body beauty. Both gender could use an accessory bag called bayong for personal things like comb and knives. Together with the Hanunoo, the Buhids possess a pre-Spanish syllable writing system. That would be all, and thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Cyril Kate Suazo, and now I will discuss the island group, Padawan and Iraya. First is Padawan. Tadyawan Mangyans live in the municipalities of Nauhan, Victoria, Socorro, Pula, Gloria, Pinamalayan, and Bansud. These places are part of Oriental Mindoro. The Tadyawan Mangyans women have a upper covering. It is a cloth or also called paypay, which is worn around the breast, and their lower covering it is a white cloth and also called talapi. They wrap around the waist here. While Tadyawan Mangyans men wear G-string, it is called abay. When it comes to accessories, women and men wear bracelets and necklaces, and it's made of beads. Kaingin or shifting agriculture is a common practice by all the Mangyans groups because it is the only way they can grow crops to eat without using a fertilizer. Tadyawan Mangyans have staple foods like upland rice, sweet potato, taro, and banana. And they also have a planted fruit-bearing trees like rambutan, citrus, and coffee in their kaingin. Next is Iraya. Iraya Mangyans live in the municipalities of Puerto Galera. This is also part of Oriental Mindoro. Well, Estelle described the Iraya as having curly or deep wavy hair and dark wavy hair and dark skin but not as the Negrito. Nakikita natin ang mga Negrito, iba sila, mas dark yung skin nila kaysa sa mga Iraya. Well, Iraya Mangyans also have a traditional attire. Yung mga Iraya Mangyans ngayon, di na sila masyado nagsusuot ng traditional costume nila. Unlike noon na sumusunod sila sa mga tradisyon, Iraya Mangyans have skills making nito weaving, like handicrafts such as jars, trays, plates, and cups of different sizes and designs are being
For that continuation, let us discuss the Taubid group. Taubid or Taubid Mangyans are part of the 8 tribes of the umbrella term Mangyan. They are known as pipe smokers who start smoking at an early age, even when they are still children. Basically, we know that smoking is not good, especially for the young children, because we know that it will give a negative effect. But in this group, They allow it, and it is understandable because it's their culture and it's their traditions. The Taubid people are also known as the Batangan Taubid by the lowlanders residing on the west of the island, and Fanaubid. However, when it comes to language, Taubid group has two dialects. It is the Eastern and the Western. The Eastern is also known as Bangon that have 1,130 speakers. However, the Western, that is also known Batangon, has 6,810 speakers. Moreover, when it comes to their culture, they still highly value tradition over modernity, such as the way they dress, the way they trade, and the way of life. They really give value to their culture. And aside from being a pipe smokers, Taubid Mangyans have an important duty, and that is they are the protectors of the world's rarest buffalo, the critically endangered tamarao. And as to their clothes, women wrap their brass ring made of bark with a knee-length cloth. However, men dress in loincloth called amakan. It is a single piece of cloth wrapped round the hips and cover the genitals. So further, Taubid group live in municipalities of Socorro, Pinamalayan, and Gloria, but mostly in Occidental Mindoro. And that's the island groups. And now, let's proceed to the Lumad people. Let us start with Manubo tribe. Manubo tribe is one of the 110 groups of indigenous people in the Philippines, and the Manubo name comes from Mansuba, man, person or people, and Suba, river, which means river people. At present, Manubo tribes can be found at the hillsides and river valleys of the northeastern part of Cotabato. However, according to an oral tradition, the Manubos were led by two brothers, which is Mamalu and Tabunaway. They lived by the Manubo Creek, which flowed into the Mindanao River near the present site of Cotabato City. In the 14th century, Sharif Kabungsuan, a Muslim missionary, arrived from Johor to convert the people of Mindanao. Tabunaway did not want to convert to Islam, but told his younger brother not to reject the Muslim faith. Tabunaway and his followers moved up to the Pulangit River to the interior of Cotabato. They decided to part ways and in the years to come, establish their tribes. So with that, Manubo, which the name of original site, became Manubo, and the descendants of Mamalu became Mindanao. Okay, so let's talk about their beliefs. Though Manubo communities have been separated, each tribal group culture believes in one great spirit, and that's one common that binds them together. Also, they believe that there is an unseen spirit. The unseen spirit intrude to the lives of human which accomplish their desires. And they believe that it is good or bad, that can raise anger or pleasure. And also, they have this belief that a Manubo hunter will be killed by his dog or a pre if he didn't ask permission to the what they call Lalawag, the god of all forest games. Also, they have what they call Samaya, a native ritual which amends a read in the connection with the various of stages of the farming cycle. It is clearing, planting, growing, and harvesting. However, they also have they called Manganinay. The hunt for the bees is the basis of the traditional bee hunting dance. And to pray a successful hunt is they sing a traditional song that only bee hunters can only sing, which is called Manganinay. However, they have also what they call Panayangan, the god of bee hunt, in which the song they sing is to give honor to this god. Furthermore, Manubo community is primarily a male-dominated, wherein the man is considered the head of the family, and he is the one who will make the family's decisions. And the Manubo are both strong in mind and spirit, and their cultural identity is firmly rooted in the land and its nature. It's maintained through storytelling, language, family, and traditional skills and arts. The traditional way of life has not ended for most Manubos. Like any other tribal community in Mindanao, the Manubo have faced many cultural challenges in their past and will encounter even more in the future. They strive to uphold their values and traditions even while living in modern society, faced with new realities, ready to compete in the modern economic world instead of the world of nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Aliani Sugano. Before we proceed to the next tribes, which are the Blaan and Mandaya, we will define what Lumad is. Lumad is a Visayan term meaning native or indigenous. The IPs or indigenous peoples are the people who live in the Philippines, and Blaan and Mandaya are among them. Now, let us define the Blaan tribe and its people. The Blaan tribe are one of the indigenous people or IPs living in southern Mindanao. The Blaan people, alternatively spelled as B'-laan, derived from Bla, meaning opponent, and the suffix an, meaning people. Other terms used to refer to this group are Blaan, Biraan, Baraan, Villanes, and Bilanes. The Balian culture is unique. The tribe practices indigenous rituals for almost everything they do, from selecting a place from a farm, planting, harvesting, and post-harvesting because of their belief in the supremacy of the great creator named Malu or Diwata, the source of everything. They have their own traditional dance called Blit Blaan, which is a courtship dance. They have colorful tribal wear and a weaving tradition similar to the Tiboli. Their livelihoods are farming, weaving, and the males weave baskets and females weave mats. They also into fishing, hunting, food gathering, and tool land weapon making. Blaan life evolves around the family, which usually is a compound one consisting of more than one spouse or a home consisting of extended relatives living together. Blaan has a pronounced or defined role in the family. The man does all the heavy work while the woman does the less burdensome. The men open and prepare the farms while the women tend to crops until harvest. The men prepare the storage bins and the women haul the harvest to the stored. The Blaan headman is traditionally called Datu, as attested by the fact that all stories, epic and or historical accounts point to the exploits of heroes referred to as Datu. Now let us proceed to the second, which is the Mandaya tribe. In the Philippines, the Mandaya indigenous group is known for their elaborate and vibrant culture that has been preserved by successive generations and has withstood the colonization that the country surpassed. The Mandaya people live in Mindanao, the second largest island in the Philippines archipelago, specifically along with the mountain ranges of Davao Oriental. So the term Mandaya comes from the words man meaning first and Daya meaning upstream. In combination, Mandaya means the first upstream people, and it refers to the indigenous group's language, tradition, customs, and beliefs. The Mandayas have a solid tradition of weaving. One of the exciting aspects that makes the culture of the Mandaya distinct from other indigenous groups in the country is their culture of dreaming. The practice of weaving and the knowledge system of traditional medicine or healing in the Mandaya culture have been dramatically influenced by dreams. So the Mandaya are famous for their dagamay, their traditional textile, which they consider sacred. So when we say dagmay, it is a designs that are interconnected, and cutting them will destroy the essence and the sacredness of the fabric. So according to the elders, dagmay was bestowed on the Mandaya through a dream by Tagamaling, a spirit linked to life and creation. So it was believed that a Mandaya maiden dream of Tagamaling, who taught her weaving techniques to create dagmay. From then on, the Mandaya believed that weaving was sacred, and an authentic Mandaya weaver would have to say a prayer before starting their weave. Thus, Mandaya cultures continue to amaze and interest many people as it becomes more enduring and preserving generation after generation. Now, let us proceed to the next reporter.
Okay, let's now move on to Tibuli. Tibuli is one of the indigenous people located at southern Mindanao. Mostly the Tibuli reside at Kiamba, Maitum, and Surala in South Cotabato. Tibuli now mostly live in mountain slopes after settlers from another Philippine island has arrived. Their cultural heartland lies in a highland lake complex, namely Cebu, Silatan, and Lati lakes. Tibuli, together with Bilaan and Tiruray, has single language and are distinct from other languages in Mindanao. Tibuli employs slash and burn farming in planting corn, upland rice, vegetables, and root crops, since of course they live in a places where farming is the main source of income. Their products are for their family or household consumptions, and some are for bartering for another household necessities. They are famous for their skills in making numerous crafts such as casting busts of human and animal figures, bells, and metals boxes. They are also famous because of their traditional dresses, especially their ceremonial and festive attire, which is made from tie-dyed woven abaca cloth called tinalak. And lastly, Tibuli are famous for their energetic dances and music. As I remember when I visited Sorala, every once a week, I think Saturday, Tibuli will go down to the city and sell their products at cheaper prices. Now let's move on to the next indigenous people, which is Mansaka. Mansaka is found in the provinces of Davao del Norte and Compostela Valley, that is now called Davao de Oro. They reside particularly in cities of Davao and Tagum and other municipalities of said provinces in Pantukan, Mako, Mabini, Mawab, Nabontoran, and Maragusan. I think we all encountered some of them. I even have a classmate that is a Mansaka. The Mansaka are the most dominant ethnic group in Compostela Valley Province or Davao de Oro. They are said to have lived in the area since Magbaya, the creator, created them.
Good day! I am glad that you are enjoying the discussion so far. I am your Sir Wild Layover Samson, and this time I will be sharing a beautiful narrative of our indigenous people as the farming people. Not a lot of us know that the IPs are very specific regarding when and where they will establish their farms. That includes the following. Number 1, they must not go into anyone's territory. They are aware that stepping into other tribes' territory might spark war and misunderstanding. Whenever a rift happens, it is the tribal leaders that have the full authority that resolves and mends the conflict. Number 2, communities assign members that manages the farm according to their role. men are responsible for land tilling. On the other hand, women help during planting, weeding, and harvesting. Aside from that, women are also tasked to produce clothing and to weave fabrics. Number 3, babaylans or the ritual practitioners perform rituals during planting and harvesting season. This is to ask magbabaya or their god to give them good harvest and to drive away evil pests that damage their farms. Now let's proceed to farming as an occasion for merrymaking. Every harvest, they celebrate their first meal and they call it piagsawitan. It is a ceremony performed to offer their harvest to their magbabaya. In this event, families and neighbors come together bringing wine and food, where they dance and sing using indigenous instruments. And take note that nobody has to leave without anything to bring home. Aside from farming, IPs also go hunting in the woods. Their captures are shared among the community members. Hunting also observes common rules in which tribal leaders clarify and determine their respective territories. Up next is their tribal customs and practices. Matikadong, or their tribal leaders, have primary authority in determining Mansaka's economic and political life, as well as their bargains and tribal warriors. The most common conflict is their territories such as the lands and the rivers. This is resolved among community members. Another conflict is when a woman about to get married elopes or taken away by another tribesman. The man who has taken away the woman is ordered to pay all expenses for the wedding among all penalties. Now, they also have these warriors called Bagani, and they are their protector of the rights and their lives. He is called a tribal warrior because of his capacity to fight and protect the community. Before inaugurated as Bagani, he must have killed 12 people. And during the ritual, a person is killed by a yet to become Bagani with a bangkaw or spear, and he will be rewarded with a red tie for the head, and it symbolizes his becoming a Bagani. They also have a ritual or ceremony that heals a sick member of the community. When a member is believed to be punished by the river's evil spirit, the ceremony will also be done in the river. In courtship, it is normally an arranged agreement between the parents. The boy is expected to pay a wedding dowry. And that's all for my discussion about IPs as a farming people, their tribes and customs, as well as everything that makes them who they are. Thank you so much for listening, and Jombi will take on the screen.
So for your application, all you have to do is to create a poem showcasing the lesson about island and Lumad groups. It is your choice of what particular topic you want to express, as long as it is composed of 2 stanzas with 4 lines each. It is either free verse or rhyme verse. Further instructions will be posted in our Google Classroom along with the rubrics and the deadline of submission. That is all for today, everyone. You have just completed a worthwhile learning experience regarding how to relate with indigenous peoples in the Philippines. This lesson surely enhanced your comprehension and admiration to their culture. By this time, you already have a full grasp of memory regarding their beliefs and way of life. That is all, and have a blast.